my recollection of meeting him was seeing him with the other guys in Bandana when we would hang out down there. But actually, I met him at the Civic Center in Paducah at the Saturday night dances. He didn't dance, but he was there with all the guys. And I guess that's where we probably started talking. But he went out with my cousin instead of me.
Oh!
But then he left and was finishing up his military time at Fort Knox, and he came back and was out. And the story goes that he was asking around who was available, and it was me. And he called me because he remembered from meeting me in Paducah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long did you all date?
That was in March of '62, because I was a junior, and then we got married in April of '64. So
you dated
no,
2 years?
No, we did not. It was my senior year, March of my senior year. Yeah, yeah. It was my senior year that we started dating. Yeah, so we just dated a year.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Papa, can you tell me how you proposed?
In the back seat of my buddy's car. My car.
At the theater, at the drive-in theater.
Yeah. My car was being worked on. I had, it was a new car, but it would, something was wrong with it had a supercharger on it, and something was wrong with it, and they were working on that, and he said, well, come on and we'll double date. Well, I never did like to double date because, yeah, you couldn't get as romantically inclined. And so, anyway, I said, okay, when you didn't got no wheels, well, what do you do?
Right.
And then I decided to, I think, I didn't give you a ring.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
because
did I?
he knew
Was
you
that
were going to, and he took his girlfriend and went to the concession stand.
Oh my God. Give me some alone.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That is funny.
And,
But we had already picked out a ring,
Oh,
so
okay.
I knew it was coming.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't the one we picked out. That was the funny part. I go, that's not the one we picked out.
Oh my God.
And I've always said he should have known right then, just forget it.
well, actually, I think the one I picked out was a little more expensive.
Oh my God.
Oh, shoot.
That's funny.
And
All right.
I put a pretty high value on her.
Well, of course.
So,
Okay, so tell me what it was like in your house growing up as a kid. Papa, you want to go first?
in my house, growing up as a kid,
Yeah.
it was rough. The fact that I had 3 older sisters. 2 of them picked on me, and one of them defended me. The one that defended me was the youngest, so she didn't carry much weight. So, of course, I lost my dad when I was 7. Oh, well,
Yeah.
actually, I was about 8 and a half.
Yeah.
And
So did you have any jobs growing up while
Any-
you were
any
when you were a kid?
jobs?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I worked some in tobacco when I was little. I could, they wouldn't let me, they never would let me top it because I wasn't big enough, but they let me sucker it and worm it. And my protective sister, she got in trouble because she didn't want to kill the worms. And that's really about all.
Growing up.
Yeah.
Hey, Ma, what about you? Growing up, what was your house like?
Well, from what age? My dad bought a grocery store when I was 3, and I remember being in it, but not much. And then he converted it to a family restaurant when I was 7, and I do remember that because I was big enough to wash dishes. There was no such thing as a dishwasher. But it was a good home. You know, he built a new home. Not everybody did things like that back then.
You worked at the movie theater.
And I worked
too.
at the movie theater when I was in the 8th grade, popping corn. Used to have scars to prove it. And went to church every Sunday. My next door neighbor used to say every time the church doors opened, the Goffs were in it. And we probably were, you know. But of course, Pat and Charles were older than I was the middle one. But I wasn't the middle one very long because Pat left before Jean came along, so I don't guess you could really say I was the middle one, could you? Even though there was 5 of us.
Yeah.
But I was in a very loving home. They didn't show their love, but as I tell him all the time, we knew they loved us, but they weren't demonstrative with their love, you know.
Tell me what you wanted to be when you grew up.
When I was really little, I don't remember even even thinking about it, but when I was about a freshman, I thought I should be a model because I was tall.
Oh.
And I wanted to be a model. And the Women's Club had a style show. And I asked if I could be in it. And I did. I was in it, you know. So that was my first dream. And then when I was a senior, I got into journalism. And I fell in love with writing. And if I had gone to college, that's what I would have studied. But never even asked if I could go to college, but my dad didn't see any point in a woman going to college. So he sent me to St. Louis to a trade school and never worked a day at my craft that I learned in St. Louis.
What did you learn there?
It was called IBM school. It was
Key punch.
Key punch. Yeah, when you typed, the little card came out with all these little holes typed in it. I never did understand what it was for, but by then I was already too much in love to wanting to get married. So that's why he set me up there. Actually, I think. But yeah, journalism was my love. Yeah, every time we have a get together for our class and need to do something, they'll go, "Oh, let Mary Virginia write it," because she always loved writing, you know. And I don't write as well as I think I used to. That's it.
Papa, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Anything but a farmer. Maybe a hunting guide, because that's all I ever did when I was, you know, up through high school was hunt and fish, and of course I had jobs when I was in high school. Once again in tobacco and hauling in hay and things like that. Some of us boys got together and bought an old truck, and a guy down at below Bandana, well below Needmore, below Ingleside, had a hay baler, and he was one of the few with a hay baler when I was in high school. And he'd do custom baling for everybody around the county, and we'd follow him around and haul it in. And so we did pretty good when we could keep the old truck running or afford the gas for it.
Right. All right, so where is your favorite place that you have traveled to together?
I think that's kind of funny because we just discussed it watching TV the other night. Our 10-day cruise to Panama, through the Panama Canal, was my best place I've ever been. I told a friend just the other day that I'll probably look like the lady in Titanic on the front of the ship because we all went to the front, whatever the front's called, of the ship as it was going through the canal, and it was amazing. So yeah, that was my favorite one.
Of course, it was the old canal.
It was,
and
had 18 inches between them.
Princess had never had a ship that would go through the Panama Canal. They had this ship built purposely, and I'll never forget.
We were on the first one to go through.
The first one to go through on that ship, and it was there was 18 inches on each side of the ship. I just remember those dimensions, you know, and they said it's pretty tight fit. You know.
What is your favorite?
And we were standing right out front.
What is your favorite? Well, we haven't really been that much till Bud left home.
Probably some of the cruises we took, because back then I was doing a lot of scuba diving, and I really, really, really enjoyed that as long as I could do it.
Right. Tell me about the day that Melissa Lynn was born.
Ooh. Okay.
January, bad weather.
Yeah. It was sleeting, and I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and the first thing I asked was, what day is it? Because Daddy's birthday was the 8th, and he wanted her born on his birthday so bad. He even told us that he dreamed that he had a red-headed girl. Yeah. And so anyway, we got past that, and we went by and picked up Mother, went to Old Lourdes, and the weather was so bad they wouldn't send me home, but I wasn't really dilated enough to have it. And they wouldn't let me have anything to eat all day. And I caught him. We were in the lobby. I wasn't even in a room, and caught him eating a candy bar. I could hear the paper rustling. Yeah. I said, what are you doing? I'm starving.
I genuinely was trying to sneak the candy bar so she couldn't, you know.
But anyway, they induced my labor with a shot about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and wow. But that night it got so bad that Dr. Bowley, my doctor, had 2 of us there fixing to deliver. So they said he ended up sleeping in one of the patient rooms rather than go home. And we were both in the labor room, and Jimmy said you could hear us, you know, with our pain, and said the other guy looked at Jimmy and went, I don't know which one of them it is, but God bless him, or something to that effect, you know.
I mainly remember right after the birth. I had come home and gone back and went by the nursery first before I went to her room. Of course, I wanted to peek, you know, at the...
They were really strict back then.
I wanted a boy bad. And I went by the window and I saw the name on it, you know. And everybody was dressed in blue. Well, there wasn't very many babies in there. Maybe 4 or 5 is all it was. But they was all...
Blue blankets.
Had blue blankets. So I went up to her room and I told her, I said, I wanted a boy bad, but I got a girl. I'm going back down there. So I went back down there and knocked on the window. The nurse came over and she said, come over to the door. So I walked around to the door, you know, of course they wouldn't let you naturally in. And I said, look, I wanted a boy real bad, but I got a little girl in there and she's got a cotton picking blue blanket on. And she said, Mr. Bumpous, I'll take care of that right away. And so I went back and told her she's got a pink blanket on.
That's so funny.
Lord.
But that was her
But it was icy. I can
first, and we shouldn't have ever had any more.
Make sure you put that in there. All right, tell me about a holiday tradition that you remember growing up, or one now that you enjoy.
Holiday tradition. Well, of course, Christmas. We went to grandmother's, my mother's mother, Grandmother Long. All the family came, and but I don't know that it was. I don't know. She didn't even have a tree up. I remember that. But that's where you went. You know, it was Christmas Day was to her house, and Mother wasn't a whole lot into material things. We always got something, but you didn't get a lot, you know. And I know they could have afforded it, but that just wasn't their thing, you know.
I'll have to agree on Christmas because we were fairly poor family. I mean, we didn't have we always had plenty to eat, but at Christmas time, Daddy always had a crop at the back of the cell, and that was what you call splurgy time, you know. And so I gotta say, Christmas was always the top notch.
Yeah. Tell me your favorite part about being a grandparent.
Oh, grandparent. My favorite part about being a grandparent is the love that they show me and the love that I have for them, and you're gonna make me cry. And there's an old saying that you think you love your kids, but when your grandkids come along, it's different. It's just different, you know. An example, I kept you when you were a little bitty, like Owen, and I was afraid to walk across the room holding you. I was afraid I would drop you. And I had just raised 3 kids, you know. That is absurd. And just like when Olivia fell the other day, I told your dad, I didn't know whether to throw up or cry. I wanted to cry so bad, but I knew I held it back, you know. And there's just a love when, even now that y'all are grown, I feel it because y'all are so good about showing your love to us, and I hope we are to you.
Very much.
Yeah. Being a grandparent was great. I've got 3 favorite granddaughters.
Tell me your favorite memory of the 5 of you together. You, Mom, Sean, Bud.
Oh my gosh. I get my favorite memory of all 5 of us together at once would probably be around the dinner table, because you never knew who was going to say something, or Melissa and I get tickled and have to run away from the table. But we ate dinner together, not every night, you know, especially in the summer when there was ball games and stuff. But yeah, that was our get together time, and yeah, that would be the first thing that came to my mind. Was I looked down at the table actually.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good statement, because, and we did, I mean, and actually at times we pretty much emphasized that, you know, we should be together especially at meal times. I mean, you know, I've heard her get on to the kids, say, no, now y'all just, you know, do this or do that, you know, and keep the nucleus of the family, you know. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that started dissipating as soon as they got in high school age. But
I can still hear, I'd pull in on the back patio carport when I was working over in Illinois, and Bud would meet me at the door of the car. What's for dinner? And I was, you know, obviously I was tired. I'd just driven from Cairo. But Melissa was old enough that she knew what to start, and you know, she was always so good about helping. So yeah, that was it.
All right, Papa, so tell me what family means to you.
Family means everything. Probably because I didn't have a real good family since I lost my dad. Never was, you know, and so that's pretty well number one.
Family. The word family means together, love, hard times, good times, but we always are together, and that's the main thing to me.
We've never really had any hard times. The way I look at it is, we've never lost anybody. Everybody's remained fairly healthy.
You mean our immediate family?
Yeah.
Yeah, my hardest time was when I lost Charles, when he was so young. That was, because he was the first one we'd lost other than a grandparent.